Coming at you today from the incubator, and I have an all-star guest on tap for you today. He just published a new book. He's got a storied career as a founder, leading into some new areas as well. So, Jeff, welcome to That Entrepreneur Show.
Hey, thank you, Vincent, for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to diving into this journey a little deeper here on the show. I mentioned he's got a new book that just came out. So, depending on when this airs, Writing with Authors will be out first or this one. So, no worries. Head to the link in bio to catch the other episode. But, Jeff, we're going to kick this show off. You're here because you became an entrepreneur at some point in your life. Let's talk about the first company you took off the ground.
I think I've been an entrepreneur since I was about 12. I've never liked the idea of working for someone else. And I've started and killed so many companies, but you only need 3 or 4 really good ones to take off. And that can take care of you for the rest of your life. So I've been blessed for sure.
Well, let's go back to that first company or that first. Well, I won't even limit it to successful company. You may have a better story to come out of one of those killed companies that you said. One memorable story you have from one of those early ventures.
Well, the story I want to tell your audience about is back when I was a concrete contractor. And that was an entrepreneurial enterprise, and it worked for a lot of years. But at some point, my family, my needs, my desires and goals outgrew that.
Yep.
And I started to become very disenfranchised with being a concrete guy. And the older I got, the harder it was because I'd see these guys that I went to college or university with doing way better. They drive by me in my old beat up pickup truck in their brand new BMW. And it made me feel small. I just didn't, I felt like I should be doing more. And what happened is I got so dissatisfied that I complained to a very elegant lady. She and her husband were obviously very wealthy. We were working in their backyard, pouring concrete, pool deck. And they had everything I wanted, but it was out of reach for me, or at least I felt like it was. I didn't know how to get there. And so I complained to her. I didn't mean to, but the conversation devolved into me complaining for sure. And in the middle of my telling her about my problems and woes, she turned around and walked away. And that was a very embarrassing moment for me. If I felt small before, right then I felt smaller than I ever had. This wealthy woman didn't want to hear my problems, and it was my one opportunity to talk to somebody who was what I wanted to be.
Right.
But she came back, Vincent. She came back and handed me a manuscript. And this manuscript changed my life. And it shouldn't shock anybody because there's a trick to everything. Everything you first start to do, eventually somebody who's been doing it for 10 years puts their arm around you and says, hey, don't push so hard on your trowel, lighten up, just let it glide. There's always a trick. And until you learn the trick, everything seems hard. Making money seems hard until you learn something that changes it. And that's what this manuscript was for me.
I love that. And I'm putting it right here in the show notes for you. And I think that's a nice little thing to include. Everything's hard till we figure it out, right? And we overcomplicate things. We always try to get around. And once you do it, it's always a little easier the next time. Think of it, your first time swimming, the first time riding a bike, all of these things into entrepreneurship, like you're saying.
Yeah, just silly things. You bring up swimming, someone has to show you, hey, if you'll flip over on your back and just fill your lungs with air and barely kick, you'll float. And from that time on, you're really not afraid of the water anymore because you can at least float. So this manuscript really was a blessing in my life. I was 33 years old, worn out from the concrete business. That's a young man's game. 33 is already old for being out there finishing concrete, but this manuscript told the story of one of, if not the wealthiest man to ever walk the earth, Sultan Musa of Mali. Just to put it in perspective, you've heard names like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. He was richer than Jeff Bezos. He was richer than Elon Musk. In fact, he was richer than the two of them combined. And this was way back in the 1300s in Mali, Africa. So
What's the name of this? What's the name of this book that you got put? You gotta have to let that forward here.
Yeah, my book is The Sultans' Seven Secrets. Mm-hmm. Now, the title of this book comes from a near-death experience that Musa had as a young boy. He was 12 years old when he had this experience, but his father had died when he was very, very young. And that plunged him and his mother into unbelievable poverty. He had to steal food just to stay alive. His mother couldn't guarantee him a meal every day. So he becomes a petty thief. He falls in with an older thief at some point, and this older thief tries to kill him, tries to murder him. And during this attempt on his life, that's when he had the near-death experience, or what we might call an out-of-body experience. And he wrote everything down, what happened to him. He met a man that he referred to as a man made, let's see if I get this right, a man made of light and love. That's all he referred to him. He didn't call him God. He didn't call him Allah or Christ. He just called him a man made of light and love. And this being taught him 7 basic principles that I outlined, but he taught him how the world works. He taught him how creation works, how we work, and how humans are set up. You know, you think about what humans do. You know, we like to bellyache about the problems, but man, you put some people somewhere and they start building, they start inventing, they start figuring out problems. And look at the skyscrapers, your car, your telephone. People are amazing. They're creators. That's what they do.
I think we're definitely going to have to do a book swap. I'm already interested in reading this book here, Jeff. Were you always planning on becoming an author, even writing on this topic, or is this something that just sprouted?
No, I've written one book. This book. I literally would not have one thing to share with your audience if I hadn't received this manuscript. And then the book outlines what Musa outlined as the 7 secrets or the 7 principles. Okay. But then the rest of the book is my experience implementing these principles. And so I tell Musa's story, but then I tell how, you know, it took some real effort to implement these because they have to do with, well, they're counterintuitive to your training, everything you've been told, right, everything you've been taught. And we'll touch on that in a minute. I kind of want to go back before I get, you know, too far down that road.
Hey, right on, whatever you need.
But I want to take you back to that night where, by the way, my day started at 5:30 in the morning. And at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, my crew would go home, but not me. That's when I'd go out selling new jobs, picking up things that we needed for the next day. You know, all of that kind of stuff happened after work. So I never got home before 8 o'clock, 7:30, and I would wolf down my dinner, take a shower, and jump into bed to do it the next day.
Yep.
So when this lady handed me this manuscript, it was a stack of papers about an inch thick, just regular 8.5 by 11-inch papers. And she said, read this tonight and give it back to me tomorrow. And I'm thinking in my head, lady, I'm not reading your paper. I don't have time. But that night, I happened to read the first page, and I stayed up until I was done. I read the whole thing, took notes, gave it back to her the next day like she asked. But this, I'm going to tell you something that caught my eye right off the bat reading this manuscript. Sultan Musa of Mali talked about something called the language of the gods. And he said, anyone who speaks this language, the world will obey his commands. Okay, well, that caught my eye. I'm like, okay, teach me how to speak it. And I instantly thought, just being, born in America, I thought, he's not going to tell me. Well, the very next line started into it. He teaches, listen, this guy was so benevolent. He became very wealthy, but he's famous for being generous. You can read about this guy in the history books. And he wanted everyone to know what he knew so that they could do what he did. And what I did eventually is transform your life, live the life of your dreams, create the life you want. And he did that in spades, of course, became very, very wealthy, but that's not all he did. I mean, this guy was incredible. But he was so benevolent, and he wrote everything down so that other people could have access to it. He also wrote a fairy tale and embedded the secrets in the fairy tale. Now, first of all, I've written stuff. I don't expect that that's going to get out to the world, but his fairy tale did.
Yeah.
And centuries later, almost everyone on Earth is familiar with it. This is the fairy tale of Aladdin and the magic lamp. And the secrets, they're embedded in there. So I'm going to take you to we're just going to talk about the three main elements of this story. But then he wrote profusely about what it all means, who Aladdin is. He wrote, but I got to go back to this language of the gods. Because once I throw that out there, your audience is like, hey, don't skip that. Tell us. Okay. To tell you what the language of the gods is, and if you speak this language, the world will obey your commands. And to give you a little taste of what happened to me, I was afraid to speak it once I understood it. But I knew it was true. I knew it would work. I was just afraid that what if it doesn't? I'd be so let down. Just be like terrible. This is why I talked about the metaphor for his life that he wrote, Aladdin and the magic lamp. Aladdin represents the conscious mind, you, that entity that you think of as you. So whatever your name is, you're Vincent, I'm Jeff, your name might be John or Jane, but Aladdin represents you. But it represents the conscious part of you. Okay, the next element is this genie, all-powerful genie who can get you anything you want if you know how to summon it, if you know how to command it. And what teaches you how to command it? Well, that's the best part of the story. That's the magic lamp. That's the thing that changes everything for Aladdin. And that magic lamp represents the understanding of the language of the gods. So Aladdin represents the conscious mind. The all-powerful genie represents something that Musa called the veiled mind. But we, in today's world, are familiar with the concept of a subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is the mechanism that controls your life. It steers your life. And you can take that to the bank, especially after reading his second parchment. It has so much power. It's connected to all wisdom, all knowledge. It's literally connected to everybody else's subconscious minds, and it's connected to God. So it already knows that idea that would make you $10 million over the next 2 years. It already knows all about that. It knows where your perfect sweetheart is and how to get your past across, but it will not share that with you unless it believes that that would support the role you're playing. And Vincent, that's all we're doing. Each of us is just dedicated to a role. We're in character and we stay in character. I'm Jeff, and people know Jeff will react a certain way in every situation. And it's your subconscious mind that keeps that congruency, keeps you acting, or keeps you in character. Think of it this way. The conscious mind, you, is an actor on a stage. That's all you are. And you're learning from that. Believe me, you're packing away experience by playing this role.
Right.
You're an actor, and your subconscious mind is a stage manager, a really good one. Mm-hmm. It will set the stage of your life perfectly for the role it believes you're playing. And anything it believes to be true about you or the role you're playing, it will make true over time in the physical realm. So if anything changes in its beliefs, it will instantly go to work, but it might take a little time from your perspective to make it all congruent. So this brings us to a question. If your subconscious mind keeps your life congruent with what it believes to be true about you, who told it what to believe about you? Answer, you did. You are. You have been. In fact, you're telling it right now what to believe about you, but it's not listening to your words. It doesn't care about those. It knows all about your words and your thoughts. It's even feeding them to you. But it is not programmed by any of that. It hears, responds to, obeys, we'll come back to that word, and is programmed by the language of the gods, which is feelings. Feelings is the language it hears, believes, and obeys. So you can say what you want. You know what little liars you are. Me too. You say all kinds of crap. It doesn't care. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. You also think crazy thoughts that you can't keep straight half the time, and it's fine with that, but it doesn't respond to those. Feelings are always true. You can tell someone, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm really happy. But in your heart, you're feeling down, depressed, angry, whatever it is. And your subconscious mind hears that, knows it's true. It's always true. Believes it all the time, every time, never doubts a feeling. Go ahead.
I'm just blown away by your passion and your willingness to share all your expertise. That's all I can really hope from when bringing on guests onto this show, that not only they're going to know what they're talking about, but they're going to bring that passion. For everyone who's just tuning in audio wise right now, be sure to head to YouTube, That Entrepreneur Show podcast. He has been lights out today. I have to ask you though, we've touched on now roles, right? Being in these roles.
Yes.
You now, as you said, you started and killed many companies. You find yourself in a role right now. I definitely want to make sure I give you the courtesy of highlighting all the great work you're doing right now. What are you up to right now, Jeff?
Well, my thing right now, I'm a land developer. I have been for almost 20 years. I've done all kinds of other things, but land development has gone really well for me. And now I'm developing in Belize, a little country that is just, my idea of paradise. And that's what I'm doing now. And I'm pushing this information because I was going to retire 3 years ago to Belize. And I got the strongest impression that I had to share this gift that was given to me with other people. Now, of course, I had shared it with hundreds of people over the years, but that impression was, no, we're talking thousands of people, if not millions. You've got to get this out to the world.
Absolutely.
And so I wrote the book, my only book, and I've been pushing that. So I do challenges and I do workshops, and I have an accelerator program for people who are further down the road, and I work one-on-one with them. But basically, that's that's what I do all day now is
Well,
land development
you
and this.
you developed the land. Where exactly are you located right now? And do you only do business in that area? Amir's and me asking, I want to do my best to help each guest. Who is your ideal customer tuning into this show today?
Well, on the land development side, it's I do rural land development. So it's usually people who are getting ready to retire
Okay.
and they're going to sell their great big family home that where they raised 8 kids or whatever, and now they're going to downsize. And in the case of Belize, they're going to move their money somewhere where, or they might leave their money here, but they're going to spend it where it goes way farther.
Oh
And
my,
those are my customers.
I I've had the great opportunity to do some traveling in South America where the dollar does stretch
Yeah.
a million times. I remember the first time I went before COVID, 800 US was 2.4 million over there. So it's kind of just like, all right, here we are. Jeff, I've had a great time chatting with you, a great time meeting
Hey,
you. I look
brother.
forward to getting you on the Writing with Authors show so we can dive specifically into that book. One more time, where can we find you online? How can everybody get in touch with you?
Okay. Sultans7secrets.com. So that's Sultans number 7secrets.com. You can download a free copy of the video book. So that's me sharing the stories, just talking and basically reading my book, but also ad-libbing a little bit. You can download that for free, and you could be speaking the language of the gods tonight and all day tomorrow. And I promise you, I'm going to give you a little taste of what happened to me when I finally started doing this. Within a year, I went from being a $60,000 a year concrete guy to making over $1 million a year in a new business that I absolutely loved. It was right down my alley. It came to me from out there somewhere. That's where all your dreams live, out there somewhere. And it was my inner genie that went and got it and brought it to me, made my paths cross with my future partner, set everything up. And if you think about how you feel about every aspect of your life, your relationships, your career, the amount of money you have, you'll realize that that's exactly how you feel. Now you're going to think, wait, I feel that way because that's the way it is. I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into that and prove to you, if you come into a workshop, anything, no, it is because that's how you feel about it. And you felt about it that way since you were a kid. It has, and you can be honest and go back to, oh, that's right. I saw my mom and dad, their relationship. Now I got the same thing. That's how it works. Download the book, start learning how to seize control of your life.
Thank you for that push in the right direction. Everyone, be sure to head to that website. And of course, the show is at That Entrepreneur Show on all social media. Head to Vincent A. Lancy on YouTube because now they have a podcast channel under my channel for That Entrepreneur Show. We'll get a bunch of good video clips from there. And of course, scroll down in this description or head back to YouTube, whichever is out first. Go check them out. Writing with authors, excuse me. Share it for them. Show them a little love. Share this book content with everyone. And with that, we are signing off today, I guess, from all the way in Belize to here in Tampa, Florida. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Thank you, Vincent. It's been a blast.